Hi there. I know Robert's here. Robert, you're the only one. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm actually in the future, so it's technically not Thanksgiving here, but nonetheless, I know that most of my community is still enjoying Thanksgiving. Oh, we've got 5 people here. Hi everyone. Happy Thanksgiving. Please let me know if you can hear me. Just drop a note in the chat. 9 people. Hey everyone. Thank you for coming. Can someone drop in the chat if you can hear me, please? Okay, great. Thank you, Robert. So this is the Happy Thanksgiving stream. I know it's a long shot to get people all on a stream on a U.S. holiday, but I thought I'd give it a whirl and just say thank you. There are 3 of you now, um, so I'm just curious how everyone's doing, and if you want to ask me questions, you can. I'm going to just. Oh, we got 4 people, 6 people. Welcome everyone. Happy Thanksgiving to those who celebrate. I'm just going to talk, and feel free to talk with me and ask questions or share stories. And I'm going to talk about Vietnam. And I'm going to close this window behind me because construction is going on behind my ear. Bear with me. All right, there are 9 of you. So let's see. Joey's here. Hey, welcome back. Mashed potatoes or scalloped potatoes? Mashed potatoes. Sorry, Joey. My grandmother used to make both because scalloped potatoes just never did it for me. I don't know why. People love them, but it just wasn't for me. Cheryl says both. Awesome. Welcome, Cheryl. Hey, Brian. Happy Thanksgiving. Oh, Brian, I have a quick quick thing to tell you. So I your recommendation for City Nerd. Well, yeah, I went to go check it out the other day, and I typed in Nerd City instead because my brain has been complete mush. It's been everything I'm just inverting. And if you go to that YouTube channel and you look at it, you'll understand why I'm laughing. It's because I was like, there's no way Brian recommended this. So I went back to the piece of paper I wrote it down on, and yeah. Anyway, I really am enjoying a few of his videos, particularly the cities where you can have car-free access to nature. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So thank you for that. But it was quite funny. If you go to Nerd City, you'll see again why I'm laughing. All right, so we've got 14 people here. Thank you so much. Yeah, Brian, I was like, there's no way Brian's recommending this channel to me. Um, 13 people. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Cheryl, how are you? It's nice to see you pop up in the feed once in a while. I like Joey's question here: mashed potatoes or scalloped potatoes? You know, I have to say, I was really surprised. When I've lived in many other countries, always the American chain hotels have like a Thanksgiving option, but I called around and there was nothing. So I did a YouTube search. Glad to hear that, Cheryl. I did a YouTube search for Thanksgiving in Da Nang, and a couple places came up. One was already sold out, but there is a restaurant, and I believe the owner is American. He is a Westerner, and I had a fantastic Thanksgiving dinner yesterday. I basically was in bed most of the day and then did some work in the evening, but I did manage to drag myself out for a Thanksgiving meal, and it was, to his credit, it was actually very good. It was I am I, I won't tell my mom this because she always made a beautiful Thanksgiving meal, but that was the best turkey I've ever had in my life. And I don't eat tons of poultry or meat, but it was the best turkey. It was so moist and tender. I was shocked. Anyway, so how was everyone's Thanksgiving? Brian says, my Russian friends have been calling them smashed potatoes for years, and I never wanted to correct them. That's so cute. I love that. That is really cute. It's quite funny too. Now there's a distinction, and it's kind of a thing. There used to be this kind of cafe I would go to several years back in a kind of, it was a town near where I was living, and they did smashed potatoes. So they get like the smaller medium-sized potatoes, and they would just smash them, and they would dress them with herbs and salt and garlic and olive oil and shove them in the oven and then serve them warm as smashed potatoes, but not mashed, smashed. It was just one, just smash them once. That's really cute though. I love the the kind of twists on English that foreigners have. It's awesome. It's really fun. Hey, Emmanuel's here. Welcome back. I've seen you in the comments. You're gonna get your blue light blocking glasses before I watch my live stream. It's almost bedtime. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, they definitely help a lot. They do. And even though we can absorb blue light through our skin, I would say that it's most damaging when it comes through our eyes. So yeah, awesome, wonderful. Oh, Serene, hi, happy Thanksgiving. Hi, I saw you a lot in the comments too. It's awesome. Welcome. Cheryl, you make me laugh. So I was just gonna, there are 12 of you here and we can talk about whatever you want. I really appreciate you all, and you bring so much fun into my life that there's no way I couldn't not do a Thanksgiving stream. Yeah. Yeah. There's no way I couldn't just show up and say hey and hang out with you all a bit. Yes, blue light does get absorbed through the skin. And, there's nothing wrong with blue light as long as it's not isolated from purple and red light. That's the key, because they neutralize it. But when it's isolated, that's when it damages your mitochondria and everything. Yeah. And actually, blue light is very strong in the sense that it penetrates. It can penetrate. I can't remember exactly how many centimeters, but both Dr. Alexis Cowan, Dr. Jack Cruz, Andrew Huberman, and some others have mentioned it in there. I'm not big on Huberman just because he doesn't go as deep into the subject as the others did. And he only got into it because he realized, this is my judgment. I think he only got into it because he realized how much attention Dr. Jack Cruz and Dr. Alexis Cowan were getting, and how much money there is in this business in terms of educating people. And yeah, so that's my take. He doesn't go deep on it. He won't. He kind of stays like not on the surface, but he just doesn't go all the way. So yeah, that's why I pay attention to them. But they're talking about how blue light, isolated blue light, like from our screens, from LEDs and fluorescent lighting and stuff like that, and halogen lights, it can penetrate clothes and everything. Yeah. So that's why if you're outside, even if you can't, it's too cold and you don't want to walk around in t-shirt and shorts, if you're wearing natural fibers, the wonderful UV light will penetrate and help your mitochondria. So just something to keep in mind. Let's see. Wow, lots of people. Hi, welcome everyone. Mr. Buxley. Let's see. Hey, Tom, welcome back. As far as I'm concerned, Thanksgiving is just a good excuse to gather and eat lots of food. Nothing wrong with that. No need to take it too seriously. I do enjoy it. Yes, and quite frankly, that is the. I think that any excuse to get people to gather and eat instead of, buying stuff is a great excuse. Like I'll take it, because just more human connection is really needed in this world. And I'm with you. If people can get around a table and laugh and enjoy themselves and share food and stories, and let's just consider this our digital Thanksgiving table. I would certainly love to sit around a table with all of you. That's for sure. Yeah, I'm with you, Tom, all the way. It has become something that can be very good. Let's see. Joey. Yes, Joey. So blue light the sun emits blue light, but again, it's fine because it's its effects are neutralized by purple and red light spectrum. And then also, yeah, so it's LED lights. So you can, let me just bear with me. Comes from LED lights. It comes from, and those are energy efficient, but at the same time, they're deadly to our mitochondria. So, you gotta wonder that. Let's see. And I'm gonna share this. I will say it's a I'm gonna I have to disclose this, that it's an affiliate link. There are very few affiliate programs I'm a part of, and these are just companies that I believe in. And this is a link to Health Lighting. You will not pay anything extra if you buy incandescent bulbs from them. Um, I get a small commission, but you don't get charged extra. It's Health Lighting, ships within the United States and Canada. They have incandescent bulbs. I bought a near infrared light from them, which I would use during the winter. It's very soothing, and it's good for the nervous system. Actually, I sold that to a friend right before I left the U.S. And yeah, I really believe in that company. They do take a few weeks to ship, so don't worry. They will get the order to you. It's just I think that they have become so in demand that yeah, that they are just they move at a steady pace, and they're probably a very small company, to be honest. But they pack it, in my experience, they pack everything really well. I've and their customer service has helped me out. They respond to my questions and everything, so I like them. Let's see. Emmanuel, I am not skeptical about I'm skeptical about those who isolate science to serve their means. Someone like Dr. Jack Cruz, I respect him. I don't agree with everything he says, because he has different opinions about so many things that he also shares, and I don't always agree with those. But what I do appreciate is that he is one of the world's leading neurosurgeons. He's traditionally trained in the medical field, yet he has taken that knowledge and gone beyond the boundaries of Western medicine and realized that he can cure his patients most of the time using methods in changing their lifestyle, because most of modern disease is created by modern lifestyles. So that's what I really appreciate. He said it several times, and I wish I could remember the exact number, but I believe it was 94% of his clients do not need brain surgery because he guides them on how to change their lifestyle. He shows them what in their lifestyle and environment has created the situation that has led them to need neurosurgery, and if their brain surgery isn't urgent, he is able to walk them through that. And he's also very selective about the patients he takes on. You have to be part of his health club to join first, because he wants you to learn the science. Now, he will take on like serious cases, of course, and he will operate. And he uses red and near infrared lights to speed up the healing. So I think you have to use your discernment. Seriously. Um, the people who focus most heavily on the science and they don't isolate the science to serve their purposes, those are the ones I like to look at. And I also think about what have we removed from our lifestyle that was so healthy? People used to spend a great deal of time outdoors. They didn't have isolated blue light bulbs and blue light just shining at them all the time. People used to get a lot of natural light, and sunlight regulates your hormones through the UV receptors in your eyes, particularly at sunrise and at sunset. So again, use your discernment. I am skeptical about some because they can't, when asked questions, they either don't admit that they don't know, or they can't, um they kind of dodge the question and go off on another tangent. So I hope that helps. That's how I judge things, but to each our own. Serene, the only good turkey on Thanksgiving is a live wild one. We have a lot of them in my neighborhood in Brookline, Massachusetts. They are as beautiful as peacocks. Not kidding. Yes, actually, that is wonderful. I I have to say that when I shared a family house once with another relative, I had a garden for a few years, and the turkeys would come and hang out in the fall and the winter around the garden, and I had, like, a big kind of, like, trellis of sorts that I would string I used to grow tomatoes up a string, just like the way they traditionally do in Spain and stuff, and, yeah, the turkeys would fly sometimes around the yard, and they would land and sit on top of that, like, long post trellis that I had made, and it was pretty cool. They are gorgeous, I'm with you. Cheryl says, walking my dog through the park today around noon, and East Asian family were picnicking on bento bowls and enthusiastically wished me a happy Thanksgiving. See, I love that. Multicultural holidays are so fun. I like that. I think it's the best of everything when people can greet each other in their own in the other person's language, which is really pleasant. I always try to do that. If someone says hi to me in English, I try to say hi back to them if they're a local in their own language. And just celebrating each other's holidays is fantastic. Actually, that's very interesting, Cheryl. When I was in Sarajevo many years ago, I I went on a free walking tour. You give a nice tip, of course, but it was a free walking tour led by a young woman who grew up during the war, and she talked about and the unity of the people in Sarajevo is mind blowing. And she said that she and her so she and her Muslim friends. She was Christian, and they would celebrate each other's holidays together and prepare food for it as well. And they would go to each other's houses, and they still do, at least at that time when I was there. And I just thought that that was a beautiful thing. I think a lot of the division is needlessly crafted, and maybe sometimes not intentionally, but just out of fear of the unknown. And yeah, anyway, it's awesome. Brian says, instead of tea day dinner and a show for me today, it's a show, your live stream, then dinner, tagliatelle bolognese and merlot. There you go, Brian. That's quite a day. And I am honored that you are including this live stream as part of your holiday. How cool. Thanks for being here. Tom, that's all right if you buy your dinner at a restaurant. You're supporting a local business. That's good. You're not out buying stuff that you don't use though. You're buying a meal you enjoy. You're welcome, Joey. Absolutely. Oh, you got your red light pretty fast? That's awesome. I'm pleased to hear that. Yeah, maybe they added more people to their team. Uh, Tom, are you talking about okay, so on health lighting, I actually will pin that up to the top. So if you want the link to health lighting for incandescent red bulbs or near infrared bulbs and lamps, they're up there. There are some LEDs on there, so just read carefully, but they don't specialize in it. They just have some. Now, it depends. So you can actually, what I would do is I had great lighting in my apartment, so I didn't need like many regular incandescent bulbs. I just had a couple throughout the house, but I used red light bulbs in the lamps for nighttime just so that I could wind down, especially like in the bedroom. I only had red light bulbs, and I had one full spectrum incandescent like near my bookshelf, and that was it. But red lights were, I think they were about $7 or $8 a bulb, if I'm not mistaken. Also, if you order over a certain amount, sometimes they'll throw in a free one. It just depends on the day. Now, the near infrared lamps, I believe, were for the lamp itself and the bulb. I think it was 150 or 160 or maybe, and they often go on sale. I know that my mother said that she had ordered one and she got it on sale for 125. The bulbs themselves are about 40 or 50. I think it's 40. Yeah, I think it's 40. They last a long time though, to be fair. Let's see. Oh, awesome, Robert. Yeah, and thank you to anyone who uses that link. It supports the channel. It helps me be able to keep doing this. Let's see. Yeah, you can get them on Amazon, but I personally try to give business to other companies as much as possible. That's my preference, though. You know, if you prefer shopping on Amazon, to no problem. I don't hold it against anyone. I just personally like to give as much of my business to non-Amazon companies. Um, yeah, Tom, yeah, absolutely. Their incandescent bulbs are so much better for you, and you can and that heat that everyone considers to be inefficient, that's the stuff that's good for your mitochondria. And while electricity is not, and while how should I say this, artificial lighting is not a substitute for sun. If it's your only option and you do have to be indoors, it's the best option. Emmanuel, I actually don't talk politics on here usually, but I will share something that I think is quite useful when I don't fit into a box. You know, on every subject, my views are different. In some, I would say they're more on the left side of the spectrum, and some they're on the right side, and sometimes they're in the middle. I take each I take each issue and I look at it holistically. I also read very widely. So I read, economically speaking, I've read, eh, everything from libertarian all the way to like, uh, and by libertarian, I mean like Austrian society thinking in terms of liberty, but also economics, all the way to communist. And I read the full spectrum, and I take bits and pieces of what makes sense to me, and I blend them all together. I do the same with politics. I do not buy into the divisive two-party system. I don't, because it is I don't think it's wrong to choose a party. I don't judge people on that. But if you get unhinged by a politician, then you have, or anyone, if anyone outside yourself makes you unhinged, then my perspective is that it's time to look at ourselves. That's like, if I were to get unhinged by someone outside of me, I usually stop and go, hey, get a grip, come back to center. So yeah, my political beliefs are this. But also, i I will throw this out there. If you look at the etymology of the word government, right? Govern means to control or to rule over. Ment means the state of being, but it also comes from the Latin word of mind, which is meant as well, but just spelled slightly differently. Mentis, ment. Um, and so it literally translates into mind control. So when people start getting unhinged and go to bat for their politicians, I don't fight for mind control. I don't fight for people to rule over me. I think that government can do good, but I don't. I think the solutions lie on a local level with people within your community. The stronger your community is, the less you need the outside rule of others. And also, when it comes to anarchy, people don't really know what that means. And that's because they just accept the modern definition of it. And, but I'm a word person and I've been obsessed with this. And it comes from the Greek word anarchos, and an is no, and narcos, ruler. So it literally means no rulers. So yeah, the more people take responsibility for themselves, the more people live considerate lives in terms of like respecting other people's freedom, respecting other people's space, and just being good human beings and looking after the environment, the less micromanaging and overpowering big government you really need. So I think that's my political view: is the more self-responsible people we have, um, the less we need that. So yeah, that's about as political as I get. Also, when people get unhinged about a politician on another side, I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter which side of the party line they're on. I think it was the Ethics of Government Act. It was in the 40s, maybe it was in like 47 or something, that made it mandatory that most people within like Congress and any of the high powered executive branch people have to do their full financial disclosures. And almost all of them get rich while they're in office. So I don't defend any of them because while life does usually goes down in quality for everyday citizens, the rest of them are getting rich and they're collecting their paychecks too. So yeah, I don't bat for anyone. I really don't. Follow the money. That'll tell you a lot. Yeah. Let's see. That's about as far as I go on politics because I like to unite people on things that we share in common. And yeah, I like to keep it. I think that's where the solution lies is connecting with people where we have common ground and just letting go of what where we don't agree. And maybe sometimes we can learn from each other, but a lot of people just want to be right as opposed to learn, and that doesn't help. So if we can all kind of come together on interests that we share, that's where I think real progress comes. Happy Thanksgiving, Pamela. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for coming. I know this is a little bit of a later live stream, but I wanted to make sure people had time to enjoy their Thanksgiving meals and gather if they wanted to. Oh, how cool. Emmanuel knows all about the area where Pamela is. Cool. Testimone's here. Hey, welcome. Yep, I've got another incandescent bulb champion here. That's awesome. Yeah. Politics. Cheryl, that's a good one. My locator, peace. Happy Thanksgiving. Welcome. Nice to have you here. So what does anyone want to talk about? I could share funny stories from Vietnam if you like. I guess I'll do that until someone asks a question or makes a comment that I can share with everyone. So Vietnam's an interesting place. Oh, I don't drink caffeine, but I do have a spot. So like I don't drink all the egg coffee and coconut coffees here because it's all caffeinated, but I do drink fresh coconut juice or water, excuse me. Um, oh, Joey has a question for me. I totally understand if you skip this, but I'm wondering if you can talk about how your travels have shaped your perspectives on homosexuality. I have friends who worry about traveling. Joey, yeah, I don't mind talking about that. No problem at all. It just depends on where you're going. Some countries are way more open than others. I think the one thing to remember is that most, not all, but many countries are not as openly okay with public displays of affection, regardless of whether you are gay, straight, or whatever. Okay. So I think that's really important. And I would not let that stop me from traveling ever if that were a concern for me. Consulting guidebooks or even the internet is very good because they all have sections about, how LGBTQ friendly or whatever the country is, and just what is considered acceptable. Because often what is considered acceptable for, say, straight people is also, I mean, not acceptable for straight people is also not acceptable for anyone else either. So I want to put it out there that yes, there are some countries that are intolerant of it, but there are many countries that don't ask questions. They're not bothered by it as long as you respect the fact that they are not, say, a country of public affection. Like you don't um for example, you don't in Muslim countries. For I've never been to a Muslim country where there is a lot of affection shown in public, regardless of whether you're married, not married, whatever. And so I think those are just things to remember. If people disrespect those, you can end up in jail in some countries, but you could also just be yelled at in the streets. And it's not because of one sexuality. Often it's simply because that it's going against PDAs or going against the culture's uh, rules of what is acceptable or not. So yeah, I really think that your friends should not be concerned, but to do their research and to travel wisely. All the information is out there. Like they would be. It's not like they would be caught off guard as long as they do their research and respect the culture they're going to. Um, then they should be fine. But again, there are some countries where it's totally not going to be tolerated, and just steer clear of those. Often, I mean, if that were a concern for me, I wouldn't want to go to those countries either. Yeah. Thanks. That's a great question. Um, am I in a relationship? No, I am not, Douglas. And thanks. Nice to see you here. I always see you in the comments, but it's great to catch you in the live stream. No, I'm not. It's not my default mode, to be honest. I don't mind relationships, but I don't go looking for them. And for me, they are the exception, not the rule. So yeah. Hey, SoCal, welcome. Oh, I appreciate the compliment. Thank you. Nice to see you in the live stream here. I think it's the first time I've seen you here, and I'm sorry if I'm mistaken. So we've got 20 people here. Thank you. Thanks for coming. So I was going to share some funny things about Vietnam, and I was thinking about this today, about all the things that are different, or so one thing I realized was that I haven't seen a stop sign since I left the United States. I realized that about like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and today I remembered. I was like, oh, I got to share this. And so this culture is predominantly motorbike or scooter oriented, right? So um, it's harder to stop and go on a scooter than it is in a car, I would say it's more cumbersome. And so there are no stop signs everywhere, and they all honk when they get to an intersection or they're about to pass a street on the side of them to alert the people that, hey, I'm here. Don't blaze through the intersection. Don't hit me. Now, just imagine tens of thousands of people doing this, hundreds of thousands, a million, and you get Vietnam. So it's quite noisy, and but it's entertaining at times. And I hear Westerners complain about how people drive in Southeast Asia. And sorry, I'm still kind of getting over this lung stuff I had going on. So if I kind of sound different, that's why. And I don't really see it the same way as people. So the West has had cars for, let's just round it down to 100 years. Okay. So, and we've had all that time to develop and kind of entrench road rules and laws and expectations, right? And then also develop stringent driver's license tests and everything else. But a lot of these countries in Southeast Asia, cars and motorbikes. I mean, motorbikes in many countries only really came in within the last 30 or 40 years, right? And then cars, for example, in Vietnam, only became popular within the last 20 years. And they are common, but the average family doesn't have them. They're more common for people who drive taxi, right? So, yeah. And so I look at it as, if we are, like master monks, right? The monks that have been meditating for 80 years, so to speak. Well, we've been driving that long, but people in this region have only been driving for a fraction of the time. So it's like they're just entering adulthood when it comes to driving. And so, yeah, it's pretty wild. I would say that this is more chaotic than any of the other Southeast Asian countries I've been to, and I've been to most of them. So, yeah, it's quite an adventure. You feel like your life is in danger when you cross the street, but you learn to cross it. So, like there's a boulevard nearby. Actually, it's kind of that way. And it's 4 lanes, and you just learn to cross it 1 lane at a time, and you kind of stand in the middle of the road on the lane lines, and you just kind of weave between cars and motorbikes whenever you can, and just, yeah, that's oops, sorry, I have to go open that door. It just closed. Bear with me. Thanks. Sorry, the balcony door blue clothes, and I like the light coming in and the fresh air. So yeah, it's yeah, one of my friends, Jill, if you're listening, hi. She and I were joking about how it's a successful day if we cross the street without getting injured and we're still alive. So yeah, let's see. Um, let's see what else. Coconut meat or pulp? Oh yeah. I when I drink the coconut water, I just clean it out with a spoon. The coconut flesh, it's great. Yeah, Tom, I hear you. Sri Lanka is out of control, but again, that's South Asia, and that's a whole like the Indian subcontinent is an entirely different beast. I haven't been to India, but I am told, and I'm guessing this based on my Sri Lanka experiences, that India is worse. But I've been told that worse than Vietnam in terms of madness. But Sri Lanka is off the charts. It's right up there. Also, I don't know if they have yet, but when I was there, I ended up with a double ear infection and a sinus infection because they don't have like it's all diesel and they don't have the same like diesel filters on their vehicles and the buses and stuff. And when um, my former partner and I were riding our motorbike around the island for a month, yeah, it was out of control. Like I guess I'm quite sensitive to toxins. I grew up in a very clean place and had lots of fresh ocean air and mountain air. Both were within reasonable drive, so I feel very fortunate in that sense. But it also probably means that I am maybe more sensitive to pollutants than other people. I don't know, just a guess. Yeah, and Sri Lanka is out of control. I saw some of the craziest things on the road there that I've ever seen in my life. All right, enjoy your water break, Mr. Buxley. Yes, diesel, you're right, Robert. Diesel exhaust particulates are especially nasty. Yeah, and Sri Lanka was it was so bad. It was really bad. We rode the motorcycle out of Colombo and down towards headed down the coast towards Weligama, and it was a long. And by the end of it, I had a fever. It was not good. It was not good at all. And they all like here in Vietnam, they all wear those like same like masks for like that people wore during 2020 and stuff. And that can't be. I mean, all the bacteria forms in those, and they're wearing those, and then but it's blocking the pollutants on the outside, and it's just like, oh, yeah, I don't know. They do it a lot, and then they wear them on their chins, which are, filthy bacteria, and then they put them over their mouths. I don't get it, but I'm sure it works. N95 might be better. I don't think they have regular access to those here. Thank you for the coconut water or the water. I've cut it here. Um, so yeah, Vietnam is interesting. I haven't seen stop signs since I left the U.S. So yeah, Vietnam's interesting. I haven't seen stop signs since I left the U.S. It's amazing how it's really truly amazing how much I now have an appreciation for stop signs. Uh, Also, I would say something really interesting here in particular is that in many other countries, you're used to the foreign that I've been to, you're used to the foreign population being other Westerners. And I love here that the two biggest foreign populations are South Korean and Indian. So one, I find both, and India is so massive, and their culture and languages are so varied. So it's kind of hard to put that into one, but both have amazing cuisines. And so you've got Vietnamese food, which is fresh and delicious. And then you've got the flavors of Indian food. And then you've got the spice of Korean food. And it's just like, oh, it is so phenomenal. Pamela, you asked me what I liked about this city in the last live stream, and I told you the people, but right behind that is the selection of food. Yeah, it's really awesome. Does anyone have questions, comments, anything? I'll just keep rambling as long as people are here. So today is actually a sunny day. After this, I am going to go crash out on the sand and relax, because it is a rare thing to see. This has been a rough 2 months. I'm not going to lie. Another thing that's really interesting about every country I go to that's different. So, for example, when I lived in South Korea, it, this was way back when, and it was I considered it hard to have access to good English books back then. But there was one huge bookstore in Seoul, called Kyobo Books, and it had a massive English books section. And while I couldn't have access to every book I wanted, I had a good selection. And then there were several small ones. Now in South Korea, it's very different. You can access tons of English books, but here it's very difficult. I would say there was a company, and I can't. Shame on me, I can't even remember the name, but they used to ship internationally. They were based in England, and maybe if some of you know, then you can let me know. But they used to ship internationally, and their shipping fees were reasonable, and maybe that's why they went out of business. But yeah, unfortunately, they went out of business in the last few years. I got the email about it, and I was so sad because that was my source of English books for quite a while when I lived in different countries. But yeah, in Vietnam, I'm really struggling. I may end up buying the Daylight computer, which is a pure red light tablet, um, which is amazing. It's the only device on the market, just so I can read books and pay for my library membership back home, and just, yeah, read whatever I want, or most of what I want. Even I have such eccentric reading tastes, and sometimes that leads me to really obscure books. So even then, I can't always find what I want, but it'd be a huge step up. I noticed that people don't really read here unless you're in like Hanoi, and I haven't been to Ho Chi Minh City or Saigon, as people know it, and maybe that's different there. But I noticed that people love books in Hanoi, but otherwise, I haven't seen people reading. It's very rare to see people reading around here. Oh yeah, sorry, Emmanuel. I'll get right back to your question. Um, yeah, so again, this is a country that's challenging to find books in. I will probably make a trip to Kuala Lumpur. They have, at some point, or just Malaysia in general, not just to Kuala Lumpur, but there is a bookstore there that has a really big English section, and whenever I make a trip there, I will probably pick up several books. There are some bookstores in Hanoi that I liked, but there weren't many books that, like, they had a wide range of material, but I wasn't in the mood for anything that they had. I did buy one book on money. It was like the history of money, which is a topic I'm familiar with, but this was a condensed version, so I thought it would be an easy and interesting read, and it was. Even though I'm not a fan of the author, it was. Let's see. Okay, so back to Emmanuel's question. Um, have you been through tough times in your life? Yes. Yeah, I'm not immune. I have made a good life for myself, not, but at the same time, I have had major challenges. There are lots of I've lost family members in some really tragic ways, like really tragic, kind of so tragic. It's the kind of stuff that people make movies about. Um, that is, especially when you experience that at a young age, it's really hard to digest, and it still bothers me, to be honest. It really does. Also because there's a lot of like unknown stuff, and yeah. What else? Yeah, hard stuff. I've been through periods in my life where, it was like, oh, I tried to be wise financially, and then everything possible that could possibly go wrong did go wrong, and I ended up in a bad financial place. Like cars breaking down and living nowhere where you can just walk to work, or there's nowhere you can bike to work. You really need a vehicle to drive like 20, 30 minutes to get to work. Living in a family house and then realizing that the heating systems are collapsing and that you need to somehow replace them with other family members, but even when divided it's still expensive. And yeah, just lots of stuff like that kind of thing. I got super ill in Greece once, from food poisoning, and it took me I believe it was salmonella or solanine poisoning, and I was it took me 6 months to recover my strength and energy, to feel it took me a while to get out of bed. It was probably, like, to be out of bed all day, it took me months. But, yeah, so everyone goes through heartbreak, everyone goes through I'm not immune, but I don't dwell on that stuff. I every day is an opportunity in my book. Every day is an opportunity to have fun. Go and laugh with someone. Go do something you enjoy. Like I, the more you dwell on those negative things, the more you just bring them into. You just magnetize more of it into your life. So it's really how you respond to things in life. It's whether you. I don't believe in ignoring things, but I also don't believe in fixating on them either. Just respond consciously and keep moving forward. That's really my theory on stuff. Um, yeah, yeah, I'm not immune. There's no one who's immune from that kind of stuff, really. It's just like sometimes you feel like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, when you're trying to make positive changes and do good stuff, or you're just having a blast and then someone comes and craps on it, so to speak. Whatever. It happens. You just got to keep going. Book depository. Cyrene, sorry, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but thank you. It was book depository. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's amazing how things just kind of disappear from your mind if you don't use it regularly. Thank you so much. Yeah, book depository was that wonderful company that used to have really cheap or free shipping around the world. And I loved it. It was the source of sanity for me when it came to living abroad. Pamela says, TMD, what do you consider your most grateful issue you have experienced since there? I have to say, I have been so fortunate to be surrounded by wonderful humans. Seriously. There are um, a lot of wonderful, wonderful humans here. And they look out for me. I and if I need something, and this is even with people I don't know very well, but there are some I've been getting to know quite well, the locals, and I know that if I ask any of them for something, like to help me find something or to show me where to go, or if I needed, say I got ill or something and I needed someone to help me get down into a taxi and go to the hospital or something like this, like these people would be there, no question. Really, truly phenomenal humans who just have really big hearts. And for that, I am so appreciative. Joey, another question. Absolutely. No problem. Thoughts on sunscreen? Well, I can tell you this. I do not use it. I haven't used it since I was probably in my teens, late teens. And people say, oh, that's why you got wrinkles or whatever. It's like, yes and no. Um, I don't use sunscreen for many reasons, and that is because the rate of skin cancer has, and I'm not saying that this is a fact. What I'm saying is that if you notice, the rates of skin cancer have increased dramatically at the same time that sunscreen entered the market. Um, Also, sunscreen is loaded with toxic chemicals. So, and our skin is our biggest organ. And so I don't use lotions, I moisturize with coconut oil. Um, Also in my last live stream, I mentioned the organic cold pressed hexane free castor oil mix. 40% was 60% organic cold pressed non fractionated coconut oil at 60%. And that was from the Australian naturopath Barbara O'Neill, and I just started using that before I left the U.S. That was something I just learned about, and then I got here and I couldn't find the castor oil that I liked, so I don't use that for skin. But no, I personally don't use sunscreen. Please make up your own mind. Dr. Jack Cruz and Dr. Alexis Cowan, I'll just write their names in the chat. They both, Alexis Cowan is um, a medical researcher who works in one of the and I think it's the world's leading metabolic lab, but she is moving more towards circadian biology and blue light health, like light health and everything else like that. And both of them, and he's the world's leading neurosurgeon, they both talk about the damaging nature of sunscreen and explain the science behind it. I recommend um, listen. The way I learn things is that I read a lot and I reread, and I also listen to interviews, and then I take a lot of notes and I piece together the information over time. Um, Unfortunately, a lot of my health notebooks, so I keep notebooks on all different subjects, and all of my health notebooks, except for one that I started here, they're all in the US. So I can't, like, when I forget what something's called, I can't just crack it open and answer um, a question with a clear answer. Sometimes it's because I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not, so I can just share what I've learned along the way. I really recommend that you dig into it on your own. The If you search it on Google, it'll tell you that sunscreen is fine and sunscreen's essential. But when you listen to the medical doctors that are at the forefront of this field, um, you'll find out that it's really not great for you. Let's see what else. Thank you for all these great questions. Testimona, have you ever had long-term illness from prolonged toxic mold exposure by chance? I'm having to relocate because of it. Never knew how sick it made you or how much people and landlords gaslight. Yeah, that's really interesting, Testimonial. I personally have not had that experience, though I have been in places here in Vietnam that I just leave because of the mold, and I just go and find somewhere else to stay. Um, and I have not had that issue, although, oh goodness, Barbara O'Neill does talk about it, and there is a doctor who basically, oh goodness, he wrote a book, and it was a book about how basically most diseases come back to mold exposure. And he was totally canceled after that, which I find interesting. The moment someone says something outside the box, I think it's interesting when their point is not disproven, but they're immediately canceled. I'm interested in their work because it it tells me that there was some cognitive dissonance that was going on there. And, peer reviewed is important, but as, Jack Cruz once pointed out, he goes, peer reviewed is problematic because it reins people in as well. So there's a double-edged sword here. It reins people in so that they don't think outside the box. The box eventually expands slowly, but even when there's really good science going on outside the box, it is often denied or not even looked at. Yeah. So I'm sorry you're dealing with that. And I am sending you the best wishes for a healthy new environment to live in. I don't know. Maybe Barbara O'Neill I've read, she has two books. I have not read them straight through. So I've taken notes on bits and pieces, but maybe she does talk about it, or maybe some of her interviews online, she talks about it. I've only heard her mention it briefly before. So yeah, I'm sure there are some books out there that can help you, but I have heard I heard a YouTuber who lived in Bali, and she and her family had to move because she got violently ill as a result of it. From what I understand, fasting can sometimes take care of that, but if you do that, I really recommend getting some medical guidance and support there. Um, Usually fasting can take care of most things. Oh my God, Serene, let's see. Oh, Bank and Serene just said Book Depository was bought out by Amazon and then closed. Oh, that is horrible. I loved that company. What a shame. I'm so sad the owner sold. That's depressing. If I had a business like that and it was working, I would have never sold. Like, I don't care how much I would have maybe had people run it for me, but when you so many great businesses are shredded to pieces when large corporations buy them out. It's a real disservice to like the public. It really is. Yeah, I'm with you, Tom. I avoid. There are enough toxins in the environment. We don't need to keep adding them. Also, when people tell me I need to buy stuff to get healthier, if it's not something really simple and it's not, and I don't understand what the ingredients are and all the different effects of it, like I'm not touching it. That's just really how I am. And to each your own. But if you ask me, that's how I approach things. All these diseases that we have these days, from my perspective, are due to modern way of life. Yeah, we've created this unhealthy, unnatural way of being. So of course, dis-ease is going to crop up. So yeah, the simpler you can keep things, the better. Eric, happy Thanksgiving. Welcome. Nice to see you back here. I'm so glad that you were able to join and that YouTube showed you that we were going live. Yeah, I this is a thank you. This is a thank you conversation. I I feel, a lot of you folks thank me so often. But you know what? I'm the one who owes you the thanks. I get so much joy out of this community. It's unbelievable. To be around people who are curious, who are super interesting, who are funny, who really believe in just owning their lives instead of just outsourcing it all to everyone else is a blessing. And I realize that we don't always find these people in our physical environments around us. So for me, even though I prefer being out in the world, if I can't be surrounded by tons of people that are of a similar mind and vibe, I will take the online community in a heartbeat. And I'm so glad I started this channel because that is exactly what this channel has gifted me. It has gifted me a marvelous group of humans to interact with and for you all to meet and connect with each other. So, yeah, I owe you a big thanks for bringing this awesome dynamic into my life. You all bring it to me way faster than the external physical environment does. So yeah, thank you. It's really fun. Kate, thank you. Yes, this is our digital dinner table. You all are interesting guests as well. It's just you and my cat Bob tonight. Oh, Kate, thank you. I'm honored. And say hi to Bob. I love cats. I love animals. But cats in particular really for some reason love me. And cats, I'll tell you a quick funny story about a cat. So there's a coffee shop I go to, and occasionally, because I like decaf, I like the taste of coffee. I don't do caffeine, even though there's, I'm sure, a tiny bit in most Swiss water processed decaf coffee. I think it's like 99 point some odd percent caffeine free. But there is a coffee shop I go to occasionally, and the coffee shop has a resident kitty, and she has two kittens. The manager there who adopted out two of the kittens to her friends, and the other two stay at the coffee shop with the mom. It's really big, it's beautiful, spacious, and this kitty, her kittens aren't very sociable, but she likes to chill out among the humans, and she just sprawls out on the sofas and she sleeps, and she'll show her belly, she'll curl up into little balls, she'll sleep along the arm of a sofa, and she's a sweetheart, and she'll just let me sit there and sit with my hand on her and read a book. And then the manager has a kitten of her own that she brings to work. And this cat he's yellow and white, and he is the most rambunctious little boy ever. And he is so cute. And he just loves, when he sees me, he just loves to jump at me. And he will jump on my arm. And he likes to chew on everything. I think he's teething or something. He chews on everything. He'll chew on my arm. He doesn't hurt, it's not like he's sinking his teeth into my flesh, but he just wants to come and play, and it's just so much fun. It's to the point where the manager and this other staff, when they see me walk in the door, they bring him up to me for me to hold, and it's just, yeah, totally makes my day. Because being nomadic, you miss everyone thinks that being nomadic is this amazing thing, and it is, but there are always trade-offs. You don't have the joy of having animal companions of your own. So, yeah, let's see. Cheryl, actually, I can't get it here, but yes, in the US, there is one that I would get on Amazon because my health food store near me didn't have it and for some reason couldn't get it. I'm glad that you are able to recommend another castor oil. The one I'm just looking at my Amazon account, it's the Heritage Store Organic Castor Oil. This is not an affiliate link, although I might end up signing up for one eventually. This is not hurt, but there's a link. So Cheryl has mentioned Queen of Thrones brand for the castor oil. She said it fits the criteria I mentioned. And I also just put the link to one that I buy. Again, it's not an affiliate link. Bob is a cool name for a cat. Yeah, I agree. Kate, well named. I have a friend who he and his wife have a cat named Bob too. And I just think it's awesome. And here's a little story about a cat named Bob. So when I lived in Greece, my last few months there, I was living in an apartment building that was owned by my friend's husband, and he and his family, like he inherited it from his parents, I guess. And they're both a bit older than me and very generous and kind people. And so the subterranean level they used as an animal shelter to um, foster cats and kittens. There are a lot of street cats and kittens in the area. And then they would try to adopt them out, of course. Anyway, there was a cat that they could not, in the neighborhood, that they could not get near. And he would come and eat, and then he would disappear. And he was in rough shape. But for some reason, I was on that was the like sub ground level, and I was above that. Some reason though, he would come up on my balcony. He liked me. I don't know. He just kind of would follow me. I could tell he was a gentle soul, and he really needed help. He was emaciated no matter how much he ate, and I knew he had parasites. So I would buy cat food and let him come eat on my balcony, and I would slip some parasite medicine into him, and he transformed. And he kind of had this big tomcat boss energy, and I named him Bob. Yeah. And he was in great health, and then one day he disappeared completely. He was a much older cat, but I was told that like 7 or 8 years after I left that Bob had disappeared. I'm guessing he passed away or something, but either that or he found a better place to eat, quite frankly. But he was an amazing cat. Once he got those pills and he got the parasites out of him, and he was so interesting. He had these wise eyes, and he would sit, and he had this real strong boss energy. You could just tell that there was so much wisdom in that cat's eyes. Oh, I loved it. Anyway, that's my Bob the cat story. Let's see. Oh, you're welcome, Testimona. Uh, Thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate those kind words. Oh, awesome. Is it Cheryl, is that brand, cold pressed as well? That's awesome. I'm always thrilled to know of it's always great to know of more than one company for what you need because sometimes a company will go out of business or will stop producing the product exactly, excuse me, exactly as you want it. And so Cheryl is offering an awesome second bit of information there. So please note both because it's always useful. Hey, Pamela, thanks. That's really interesting how I approach things. Yeah, I try to keep an open mind about things, and I don't follow the trend or the herd, I guess. And there's nothing, and just because something's conventional doesn't necessarily, I don't necessarily perceive it as wrong or bad. But when everyone's running in a certain direction, here's the crowd. Everyone's running in a certain direction. They're going this way, and I'm stopped back here, going, okay, what are you running towards? And I start to look and ask questions and wait and observe, because usually, if you wait long enough, you're going to see the effects or the negative consequences or whatever. And yeah, that's kind of how yeah. Hey, Tides arrived. Welcome. You just got back from Thanksgiving dinner in Canada. How cool. I know you said you live near the border. That's really awesome. You had a dual national holiday. How cool. My locator still watching. Thanks for the smile sharing today. Oh, that's great. Yeah. I- Every day that I wake up, I'm like, yes, one more opportunity to have fun and to do something I enjoy, which is this, of course. I'm uh, seeing as though I've been spending a lot of time in bed. I have been working slowly on some projects, not as spending like 1 or 2 hours a day as opposed to like 4 to 6 hours a day. So I'm not moving necessarily as fast as I would like, but the fact that I have the energy to do 1 or 2 hours a day and get lost in something that really interests me, yeah, I mean, actually, I will just since you're here in the live stream, I will share that one of the projects I'm working on is about language, and I hope that I hope that people will enjoy this because I'm working on a project that shows how language controls our reality, and I go back into the etymology of the origin, the etymology of words, and talk about the history of how the meaning of words has evolved and stuff. And I think that's going to be the project I bring forth to you all first because it's it's the one that has been lingering. I think it was 2021. I started a notebook because I kept all these things in my head about language, and then I was like, I got to start writing this stuff down. And I've been slowly documenting it over the years. But of all the words that I've been studying the etymology on, I started to notice a pattern. And what I'm working on will bring forth that pattern and in a way that I have not seen anyone else do. And so I'll be super interested to share that with you all. And I hope to share it with you in the new year. Oh, xylitol powder is also an iHerb. That's yeah, it was easy for me to find that back home, but I did not buy it because or back home, but I don't have a home there to go back to. You know what I mean, where I last lived. Um, yeah, I was able to purchase it at a health food store, but I was leaving and I thought that bringing white powder on the airplane was probably not a good idea. That it would just be construed as something else, even though the bag says xylitol powder. So I didn't bring it with me, and I regret not even trying because it is very hard to find here in Vietnam. I have not found it yet. There are neighboring countries though where I can find it. Um, Kate says Bob is a ginger Manx that moved in on me, so the name seemed obvious. Awesome. I love cats and dogs. I really do believe that the animals choose us most of the time. Yeah, it's really something. Ah, okay. Robert says the Queen of Thrones brand is cold press. Uh, Joey, message retracted. You're welcome to throw it back in. Yeah, Chase Hughes is amazing. Um, if anyone doesn't know who he is the world's leading behavioral expert, and he has worked for governments all over the world. And Chase Hughes, just look up his YouTube channel. Really interesting stuff. You know, it's funny. The thing that hooked me was I was listening to a short clip interview. It was with him and someone else who I don't recognize, but he was mentioning how you something about how you take care of your future self. I thought that was interesting because he started mentioning about doing things to make life easier for you tomorrow, so to speak. And he started noting things that I did, like setting my clothes out for the next day. I prepare my bag for the next day. I have my to-do list or things that I'm interested in pursuing that day. He talks about setting up your coffee maker the night before so that the next day there's less friction and the day starts off on a good note and stuff like that. And he mentioned some other things that I don't do, but immediately that caught my attention and I was like, oh, I wonder what else he knows. And then I started listening to his YouTube channel occasionally. I don't get to tune in all the time. And yeah, but I did mention to him in one of my videos about how, like, he was talking about the um, real hardcore partisan divide in this country is manufactured in the US, I should say. I'm in Vietnam. Is manufactured. And if you cannot see the merits of the beliefs of the other side of the aisle on certain subjects, and you're only against everything they say and do, and can't look at them each thing with a really considered thought process, then you are programmed. You are part of, yeah, this is literally what he says. Maybe not word for word, but the message is exact. And that is that you have been brainwashed and you are part of a cult. And the stuff you see on the internet demonstrates how some people are. And that's why I don't talk politics on here as well, because um, it just, yeah, it inflames so much, and there's so much goodness to connect on and to learn from each other on that. Yeah, I swear if people turned off the internet and they just, yeah, I think a lot of governments would lose power, and a lot of people would realize, like, oh, there's a lot that we really don't need help with. We're doing fine. Yeah. Hey, the global vagabond is here. Welcome back. Happy Thanksgiving. It is. Yeah, it depends. Really, the most unhealthy eating day of the year. It really depends. If you make stuff from scratch, it's actually not too bad. It's just the quantities, and also a lot of people buy the box stuff, which has a lot of, yeah, has a lot of additives in them. But yeah, it depends how you approach it, right? But I had one plate yesterday. That was it. Even though I could have gotten it, it was bottomless side dishes, and I could have done that, but I didn't. One plate. Oh, you saw that interview too, Cheryl? Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was great. It was fun to know that that was actually something really good, because that was just a habit I had developed. Because for me, I was like, okay, I just need to add extra sanity into my life. So if everything's organized the night before, then the next day starts off on a really good note. It starts off on an easy note. So that he caught my attention that way. I was like, oh, so I'm doing something right. It's not just me, but this is something that is a strategy that can work for everyone. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Pamela. Thanks so much, Pamela. I try and I try to speak clearly. Anyway, yeah, so it's wow, 32 people. Thank you. And thank you for giving that thumbs up. That's how YouTube kind of decides to show other people. So I didn't even realize that we went from like 17 to 32. So whoever's lurking and not in the chat, I just want to say hi, happy Thanksgiving if you celebrate it. Welcome. I really, I'm really stoked you're here. Thanks for being here. And if anyone has questions or stories, feel free to throw them in the comments. Um, I am excited. It's hard if I let's see. I don't know if you can see it. No, it just every time I move the screen, it gets worse. But there is blue sky behind me, and I am going to enjoy that later today. It's going to be this is a rare thing at this time of year. Apparently, this season has been worse than ever. But yeah, um, people have asked me about different books that I recommend, and I do have that book video. Again, I will pull it up, but there are hi Valeria, welcome. I haven't seen you in a while. Oh, okay. I won't get into the books yet. I have a question here from Joey. Do you have any predictions for the future of the USA or the West in general? Um, Personally, I predictions I don't really do. Um, I do think that but based on patterns, what I will say is I do believe there will be a sort of currency reset of sorts. Um, and so this is a guess, and it could be wrong. So this is the one area in which I really do have sort of a guess, an educated guess as to where it's going, because I used to write a lot about monetary systems and stuff. And I think, a lot of people really push the notion of digital money as a control mechanism, and I definitely don't think that they're wrong, but I think there's a lot more to it than that, and that is that the world is debt ridden. I mean, this is you cannot fiat currency. Money is brought into existence in the form of debt, right? So and think about that. The before central banks came about, um, central banks all came about. For example, in the US, I think it was 1917 or 1918 when the Federal Reserve actually opened. Before that, the US Treasury was a sovereign entity. It printed its own money and provided for all of the government needs. So it was actual sound money. It was not debt based, and it was linked to gold or a precious metal. And so you printed money based on the amount of wealth that you actually had. Now, central banks took over the world, and they are privately owned. It's really quite funny. People like to argue with me and they say, like, for example, the Federal Reserve is owned by its member banks. Yeah, okay, so the members have shares of that bank, but who owns that bank? It's actually all the wealth gets funneled back into very limited humans. Yes, families. And this is true all over the world. And so the way the model used to be was that the individual sovereign governments had the ability to print their own money based on the amount of actual wealth that they had. And there was no debt involved. And now that's not totally true for the US, because before that, there were two central banks. The first one failed. The second one, Andrew Jackson, we can thank Andrew Jackson, President Andrew Jackson, for taking out the second one. And the Federal Reserve is the third. And we think about the insanity of this. So Congress um, decides on the spending, right? And so then those bills for spending go through the Treasury and then to the Federal Reserve, and we borrow money from a private entity and go into debt as a country to enrich a private entity and the people who own it. So that's the insanity of the world, and that's true about all central banks around the world, and almost every single country is beholden to their central banks. So that's how money is created. Also, when you borrow money from a bank, it is literally typed into existence, and then you work for money and pay that back, and that money just disappears from the system, but you've had to pay all that interest. So there's never enough um, money. It's not really money, it's currency, it's fiat money in the system to actually negate. It can never be a debt-free system. is the short of the long. And I'm going off on a real big tangent here, but it is to answer your question. So every system is debt centric. I'm much better at writing this stuff than I am at speaking. Sorry. Um, so every system is debt centric, and there is no way to eliminate the debt without transforming the system back to the way it was. And I think that this push for digital currency is not just a control mechanism, though it is, depending upon who is in charge. Like, you can't buy so much meat, or you can't go shopping more than 15 minutes outside of your home, whatever. Yes, there is great potential for that, and not necessarily good potential, but a lot of it. And the other is to deal with the debt crisis. And that's what I'm talking about. And if they push everything into digital, then they can, let's say we could get hit with an EMP, or not really. You know what I mean? It could be contrived. It could be something like a false Carrington event. And then that could reset. Oh, everything got deleted, right? So then we could start the whole system at zero again. And they'd probably have to give out money to everyone, like, oh, everyone gets X amount to get started. And it would be a disaster in terms of, jobs and everything else, and how they pay salaries, etc. But if the debt becomes unmanageable, I suspect that there will be some sort of digital reset. I could be wrong. I could be very wrong, but they have to do something about the debt, because eventually you get to be Zimbabwe or Venezuela and it doesn't work, or Hungary back in the day. Look up the hyperinflation in Hungary. So yeah. Anyway, that's about the West and everything. I'm not. I think Europe is going to have a much harder time than the U.S. I just really do. The EU in particular, they just are marching in a different direction. I think the U.S. is going to have different challenges, but for some reason, I think that the U.S. will end up being very abundant, like in terms of prosperity and everything. There's also another angle of this, and the economic challenges. I think that okay, so if you've read Aldous Huxley, Brave New World. So Huxley was part of the Fabian Society, okay, and I'll let you do your own research on the Fabians, but I honestly believe that um, he wrote Brave New World because of all of the things that he was exposed to, as a result of being a member of the Fabian Society. And yeah, I think that that's where we're going. Brave New World. I think that the financial system, the financial situation is getting difficult for so many people. But then AI is rising, right? And if they can sustain the AI world, because that is right now, that's just, there's a lot of, it's not profitable at the moment. And so, and there's it's the next .com bubble burst, if you ask me. But if they can sustain it, then it negates the need for humans to do a lot of work, right? But then they're going to have to provide, and I wouldn't say a basic income. It would have to be like there's a new expression called the universal equal income, or equitable income. I can't remember what it was. It's UEI. And that it wouldn't be just basic, like people just would not work. And I think that we're going towards the direction of indulgence, right? Because indulgence is actually corrosive for the soul. And I'm not saying that this is necessarily orchestrated, but if you want to control people, if it is contrived, one of the easiest ways, other than fear, to control people is to degrade the soul. Um, and 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 overabundance all the time does eat away at the soul. You become less and less satisfied. Um, it's one of the reasons why a lot of people like Buddhists and other, well, Buddhism is technically a philosophy, not a religion, but I will group it as a religion now and just say that that's why a lot of people, like monks and people high up in religions, often lean towards Spartan lives because they dwell within and they connect with the divine spirit, whatever that may be, instead of indulging in the external world. So that's a long-winded answer, Joey. I hope that helps. But I do think for some reason that the US is going towards abundance. It may not look like it, but I just have a sense. Yes, I am glad you're back, Valeria. It's been a while, but awesome. Almost 10 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, wow, we've been going for 2 hours. Well, thanks for being here, everyone. Yeah, I'm with Tides. Debt equals inevitable reset. Paper for gold. Wink, wink. Yeah, awesome. Rambling Dave, money isn't real, it's just an abstraction. Absolutely. Right. And money is literally an abstraction, and it is an abstraction for time and energy. And that's how we symbolize time and energy. You're welcome, Joey. Happy to answer. Again, I this is just me based on a lot of reading and studying patterns. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm right, but those are my thoughts. Thanks, Cheryl. Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea. I can't, just like I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not like but those are my informed guesses, educated guesses. Yes, tides, and that is part of the abundance that I end up suspecting that the US will eventually experience. Um, it we are very fortunate in the US to have so many wonderful natural resources. We have high quality bodies of natural, like, natural bodies of water, a lot of land rich areas with water. We've got oil, we've got gold, we've got so much. And we have a wonderful country for growing food. I hope that more farmers go towards soil remediation, rehabilitation. Even people just in their backyards can grow some amazing things. And I think that there is a real great movement there. I will say I truly love the American spirit. And I think that when push comes to shove, we are a very good and resourceful people, and we'll really turn lemons into lemonade, so to speak. Yeah, interesting tides. Yep. Yeah, universal basic income, but they are transforming the idea of it from going from basic to actually substantial. So that's why they're changing the name a bit, I guess. Yeah, Pamela, it is interesting about indulgence. I don't think there's anything wrong to enjoy luxuries or anything like that, but when you have access and exposure to a certain level of luxuries at all times, then you almost become immune to it, and it's not enough. That's kind of my perspective. Um, I once had this experience where I was invited to a birthday party at a very, very um, expensive establishment. It was paid for by the person hosting their birthday there. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been in my price range. But it was in the Swiss Alps, and I noticed how many people, you're in like one of the most expensive hotels like in the entire continent, and people were complaining. Some of the people there were complaining about the food and the ambiance, and I was just like, I was sitting there going, what are you complaining about? This is phenomenal. And there were a lot of good people there too. Please don't um, mistake that just because these people had money didn't, no. I don't judge people on their wallets. I, wonderful people exist in all socioeconomic brackets, but there were some that were complaining, and I was like, oh man, time to go hang out in a monastery for a while, folks. Just simplify things. Like, yeah. Kate says, I really hope you look into various cultures and their use of euphemisms. Yeah, that might be an interesting topic to pursue next. Thanks, Kate. It is not. It is something I've taken notes on actually, based on American culture, but it is not the focus of this project. But it could be in the future. So thank you. The Global Vagabond says, I'm reversing things. The Global Vagabond says, speaking of farming, today I discovered that Monsanto distributes aspartame. The history is pretty dark. Stevia appears to be safe for now. Yeah, I just steer clear of all that stuff. I don't use any of it, none. And xylitol, I would only buy xylitol for my oral health. That's it. Um, yeah, there's a lot of dark history in there. Also, let's see what else. Oh, well, thank you very much, Arison. You're a very refreshing philosopher. I have never thought of myself as a philosopher, but I thank you for that compliment. That is quite tremendous. Joey, I like what you were saying about indulgence. It's almost freaky to watch people in my generation spend all day scrolling through 10-second clips. We don't have the attention span to even think. Yeah, it's a real dopamine problem. People are dopamine addicts, and it's funny. Your notion is very very interesting because yes, the indulgence can just be digital. It doesn't have to be material luxury. Yeah. Yeah, there is never enough for either way you look at it. Yep. Anyone else have anything you want to share or ask me about or anything? Go for it. Well, not anything. There are some questions I might not answer, but most questions I'm willing to entertain as long as they're shown in good taste. Oh, Mr. Buxley, how is the water quality there? Do you filter the tap or buy bottled water for drinking? Yeah, so that, as I always say, there are no real solutions. There are only trade-offs. And that's why when I came here, I knew that there would be trade-offs. And so back in the US, even when I had well water, I still filtered it. There were some springs I would go to, and I would filter that. There was one well I did not need to filter because the water was just mind-blowingly delicious. But here, it is not potable. Yes, and so I do not do that. I buy bottled water, and I have not found water filters to my liking. Everything here is reverse osmosis, and of course that strips the minerals out. So I have to be super mindful about eating really. I eat a lot of high quality organic greens. I have found an organic farm store here of a farm that brings in all their vegetables. And so I buy that. And then I also make sure I get my electrolytes. I squeeze lime into my water often. I'm out of lime right now, so not today. But yeah, unfortunately, to me, like water in plastic bottles is just not something I like because of all the microplastics. But again, there are trade offs. If I make it back to the US again, I will probably bring back with me I have it stored at a relative's house. I have a countertop water filter that is good for, it's one of the best countertops, and I don't recommend Berkey anymore. They used to be my favorite, and they used to be a company with an amazing reputation. I think they got bought out, and then they just started making cheap, low quality filters, and they don't last as long, and they're not doing what they claim to do. So yeah, I will say that I stopped using Berkey about 6 or 7 years ago. So yeah, no, unfortunately, no great water here. Yeah, you're lucky to have good, high quality mountain water, but, public utilities, they still chlorinate water. They still, they fluoridate water. You can read the history on it's not first of all, the fluoride in our water is not food grade, which is unfortunate. Sorry, I'm gonna take this mic off and just move it over here. I'm gonna hold it a little bit. It's not food grade. It's actually, there are lots of scientists who have made videos about this. I wonder if they've been removed from YouTube. But there were plenty out there. There were probably some on TikTok too. And it's actually a byproduct. It's a it's a waste product made from aluminium production or aluminum, as they say in the US. And yeah, it's not good. They needed a place to dump it, and they started putting it into our water under the guise of dental health. So yeah, I filter water no matter what. How am I supporting myself? Kate, YouTube, Patreon, and I have some freelance writing and editing projects I pick up. It's all piecemeal basis. They're not like I don't have just one person I get work from. And yeah, that's all US based. I've done freelance writing off and on throughout the years, so I kind of have a good resume for that and some connections as well. So I do that to supplement. I to be honest, I really prefer working on my own projects. So I do enough to cover my basics and a little bit extra, and then I focus all my energy here on YouTube, Patreon, and my own writing projects. And then eventually I will finally shift into coaching, I think, in the new year, but it's just not been the right time. There are so many projects in my brain that I really wanted that I have never been able to give full attention to. I've given plenty of attention to them, but not full. And I'd like to follow through on those things. Pamela says, wow, you were in the Swiss Alps and you knew where you were. You knew your presence and gratitude. Yeah, some people just, it astounds me what people don't appreciate and how removed they are from how blessed they are. Like they just can't see it because they've been indulged for so long. Yeah. And it's a real shame. I feel I don't criticize them. I just feel sorry for them because I would never want to get to a place where I have no appreciation for things and for the gifts that I'm being given and surrounded by. Oh, thank you, Testimona. She shared some good filters. Yep. I have not looked into them, but I'm glad to know that someone else can provide uh, a suggestion. And the name of the company I used, see, this is the problem. My brain has gone to mush in the last 2 weeks, but I can't even think of the company Clearly Filtered. That's who I used. Yeah, Clearly Filtered. They're the number one countertop filter for removing fluoride. So thank you. There's 2 sources. Again, it's always great to know more than one resource or company to get your products from. Oh, nice. Tide says he has the water drop countertop RO filter device that remineralizes the water. That's awesome. Yes. Reverse osmosis is great, except it does strip the minerals. So that's really awesome. Well, let's see. Any other questions or comments anyone wants to share? I um I I will say that and approaching 2-hour host exhaustion limit. Yeah, last time okay, brief story here. Um, Last time was almost a 3-hour live stream, and I went out to get breakfast afterwards. And I sat down in a coffee shop. Well, it's not a coffee shop, it's a cafe. And I was waiting for my breakfast and I was just sitting there and I had brought a book with me and I was just like, I'm not going to read. I'm just going to watch the world go by. I didn't even, my book sat on the table the whole time. And then 3 wonderful people showed up and we talked each other's ears off for a bit. And it was really enjoyable. But after that and a 3-hour live stream, I was out. I slept most of the afternoon. It was, It was really it's quite a day. But I'm gonna hang in there. I So one of the challenges, oh, Tide says let's party all night long. Oh, great energy on this channel. Thank you, the Global Vagabond. Yeah, it's there's enough craziness in the world. We have to have ways to lighten it all up and just enjoy ourselves. Um, so one of the things about Vietnam, especially this city Da Nang, which is um, bustling with development and activity, is that, and then I'll chop that off with all the traffic and the horns. This is a very, very noisy place. And I'm in a building that is not a skyscraper of any sort, but I'm towards the top of the building. It's considered technically the top floor. There is one apartment on the roof, but there's also all the mechanical equipment up there and stuff. And so this place has been great, but I am so glad to be moving on because just as I ended up in the hospital, right before that, there was this across the street. They were doing some construction work during the day, and I was admiring what they were doing because aesthetically it's beautiful. It's like an open air lounge bar type thing, and I thought it would be a cool, classy, laid back place where people could have like tapas and drinks or something. I don't drink, but I thought that that would be the atmosphere that was created. And no, and now thank goodness they're not open every night, but they were when they first opened. And the music was so loud and painful. And it was just like, oh my gosh. And so I was a little sleep deprived, and then combine that with the stuff that's going on with the lungs. And then but I am so appreciative that I am moving to a quieter environment, a quieter corner of this city. It's not as convenient, but for the remainder of my time here, um, before my visa expires, I have a quieter environment to inhabit. I'm staying at one place for a short period, and then I'll move on somewhere else. But yeah, the noise was off the charts. They are cranking like really bad techno, super loud, and it's so funny because sometimes I'll look down over the balcony and I don't see anyone there. I'm like, maybe the music's too loud. And on this street that I'm on, it's actually quite mellow other than one bar at the end of the other end of the street. So it was a real shame. I thought I got off. I was all lucky. I was considering extending my stay until my visa expires. And then I was just like, forget it. Definitely not doing that. Yeah. So that's one of the challenges about this place is that it is bustling. And also, they have like music blasts loud here everywhere. I will tell you a funny story before I probably wrap up, and feel free to ask questions or anything in the comments in the chat. I'll definitely answer them. I won't leave and ignore them. Um, so one of the things I love about Vietnam is that things are very spontaneous here. Like, people are repairing motorbikes on the side of the street or their sidewalks actually, and you'll see like 3 or 4 guys all working on 'em. And it's not like there's a mechanic shop or anything. It's just like, okay, this needs fixing, and then all these people come to help, and it's really amazing. Yeah. Okay, Tides. Yeah, bad techno is amazing. Well, there's some of that music that's kind of like relaxed and chill that's good for a lounge, but this was like the worst, worst, worst that you could imagine. So yeah, I hear you. But yeah, it was unbelievably bad. And it's the weekend now, so I suspect tonight will be pretty bad again. But anyway, as I was saying, there's a lot of spontaneous stuff that happens here. And I really mean that. Everything is spontaneous here, it seems. For example, it is not uncommon to be walking down the street on a weekday, middle of the day, and people are singing karaoke with their family, like belting out karaoke. And usually it doesn't sound good. Um, but they're loving it and they're having a blast. And it's really funny. And because there's this like real blend of indoor outdoor, there's no like in many settings, it's not clear where the line of public and private begins. There's no, it's just like the ground floor opens up with double doors, like the whole front exterior opens up. And yeah, it's very interesting. And so you'll just be able to see these people, and they're all standing around singing karaoke together, and you can watch, and sometimes they're drinking. And about a month ago, I was walking down the street of a very quiet neighborhood, one that I particularly like and enjoy, and I go to for respite. Again, it's not convenient, but if I need quiet, I go that way. And I was walking down the street, and this Western guy was walking towards me. He's like, "Beware." He goes, "I hope." He's like, "I hope it doesn't last too long." But there, it sounds so bad. I was like, "I know. I heard the karaoke like 5 blocks away," and he started laughing. He's like, "I don't doubt that." And he kept walking, and I kept walking towards the singing, and uh, I showed up and I was like, "What is going on?" There's this big party tent, and I'm sorry, I'm seeing it in my brain. It's this big party tent, and it's kind of in front of this cafe restaurant that I like to go to in the middle of the street, okay? During the week, middle of the afternoon. And I'm like, "What's going on?" And it's really not clear, but I see a lot of beer cans and bottles. I was like, "Oh, wow, that's quite a party." And then I only found out that it's like a wedding reception because I noticed there's a big photo on one side of the tent entrance at the front of the tent, and I was like, "Okay, there's the wedding couple," but they're not in their tux and gown at this party, so I can't really find out who it is because there were tons of people. And there was one Western woman who was in there dancing, and I was hungry, so, I get hangry, so if I'm hungry, just let me eat, don't like, I can't do anything else. Otherwise, I might have joined them for the dancing and not the singing. You don't want me singing. But yeah, I was walking by and the sides of the tent are open, and this Vietnamese guy goes, "Come, come, come!" And it's actually in Asia, it's very impolite and considered rude to just beckon people this way. So it's always like this. And yeah, he's like, "Come, sing, dance, party!" And I was like, "No, thank you, thank you." And I watched this Western woman for a minute. She's dancing and singing up a storm. It was great. It was really fun. But that's what I mean is like you don't know what you're going to experience here, and it really adds a level of fascination and joy to being here. There are trade offs for everything. Yeah. Thank you, Pamela. I appreciate that. So yeah, that's one of the cool things about living in Vietnam. And it's like you turn a corner and you don't know what you're going to find. Like for example, I have this awesome body worker who does work on me that was recommended to me by a local woman, and this lady does not speak she's probably speaks like 5 to 10 words of English tops, and I speak probably about that much in terms of Vietnamese. Vietnamese is hard. It's all tonal, so and, when I leave her place, I go see her once a week. She does acupressure, acupuncture, cupping, and massage therapy, and she's masterful. Like, she is the best body worker I have ever had work on me, seriously. Mind blowing. But I love leaving her place because if I'm not sometimes you have, like, the detox going on, from body work, and so, if that's the case, I usually just drink my water, get a grab taxi, and go home and rest and keep hydrating. But some days I'll just hydrate and walk around if I have the energy and I feel good. And, there are, like, these amazing alleys, back alleyways that you can walk through, and they're how people get around, so it's all pedestrian and motorbikes, but no cars because they're alleys. And the life that exists in those alleys is mind-blowing. Oh my gosh, so you walk down these alleys and I see and again, a lot of these people have homes where the entire exterior are just sliding glass doors or folding, I should say, and they open up. So the whole exterior front wall of the ground floor is open to the public. That's what I mean. There's this blur of public and private. And you'll see these ladies that have these like little salons that they've opened up on the ground floor of their family homes. And all the ladies are gossiping and talking together, or at least that's what I imagine that they're doing is gossiping. And then, the next one you'll see a huge family, or maybe it's neighbors and family having lunch, all sitting like on the floor or on their little tiny plastic stools. Yeah, Vietnam is famous. Like, you see them in other countries, but not so much. In Vietnam, they're everywhere. They're like toddler-sized plastic stools and tables that everyone eats off of. And, they'll be having this huge, beautiful lunch and just talking up a storm. Um, and then also you can see kids coming home from school, depends what time of day you're at, and they're all wearing their uniforms and their backpack. Public school, they have uniforms too. And a lot of life happens in the alleyways. Like, when I was in Hanoi, some of my favorite cafes, jazz clubs, and restaurants are found by going down alleys. And that's what I love about this country, that there's something unexpected and wonderful, and it's very safe here. Everyone, it's so funny. It's like, family friends are always like, "Oh, be careful," and I just kind of giggle. I say, You don't." I was like, This has one of the lowest violent crime rates in the world against foreigners. How's that?" Yeah, it really does. It's unbelievable. This is an incredibly safe country, and it ranks higher in safety than the US. So I always think it's funny when people tell me to be safe. Like, "Oh my God, aren't you scared?" And it's like, no, no, no. No, that's how much programming we get in the US. Valeria. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I love sharing stories, and I love it when people share stories with me. So thank you. I'm glad I can tell stories decently. I was trained in this, so like to write, so it's kind of hilarious. As I can totally see the Western girl dancing in the Vietnamese wedding tent. That's great. Yeah, it's amazing, and I love when people embrace the moment. Really, I do. It's one of the best things about life. um, is there are moments for magic and fun. We just have to be open to them. And if I weren't hangry, I would have been all over that. I would have been dancing up a storm with them too. But yeah, gosh, if my blood sugar gets too low, watch out. Now, the Global Vagabond says, "Have you considered voiceover narration for documentaries or thrillers?" I have not. And you are yeah. Huh, interesting. I've never thought of that. No. What I have thought about though is sometimes, and my skill level's not there yet. I'm gonna just be frank about it. I would love to maybe on this channel eventually. Like, I intend to settle somewhere. I'm still kind of looking for that right place within the next few years. And when I do, I would like to share my thoughts in a different way. And that would be, and maybe this will be just like time for me to practice, but to film the natural surroundings and then just voice over my own videos. So instead of just filming myself, I'm sharing my thoughts and showing you the natural scenery. I prefer that instead of putting my face all over stuff. I really do. But that comes with a lot of editing skills and energy and time I don't necessarily have right now, but also I need to learn and grow as a cinematographer, so to speak. I'm very basic. But eventually I'd love to do that for myself. I've never thought about it um, for other projects outside of my own. So that's very interesting. Maybe something I'll consider. Thank you. Any other questions or stories anyone wants to share? Feel free to share your stories. Like, this doesn't have to be about me. I love it when people share their insights or questions or stories. Um, I think that I'll give it another minute or two, and if questions or stories pop up, I'm happy to dive into those. But before I sign off, I was going to say that, and I'm saving it for Patreon, so I'm not really going to reveal too much. But I am departing from Vietnam within the next few weeks, and I am going somewhere else for a little while. Maybe it's something I'll go between the two countries. I'm not sure. It's somewhere I've been before, and it's somewhere I love. But yeah, and it does require some travel, but I am entertaining it. It's a much quieter place. It's laid back, and it may be a good counterbalance between the vibrancy and noise and energy of Vietnam. Coming from a small mountain town in the US with like a population in the four digits, I yeah, I really I I don't cope well with sensory overload, and this is definitely sensory overload. So I am navigating the journey uh, to creating some sort of harmony or balance in my life. You know, everyone thinks that every day has to be. This is interesting. Actually, I will share this before I skip out. You know, and I learned this a long time ago from a monk. So, you know, make of it what you will, but I consider it wisdom. And there were a bunch of us sitting in a circle. Well, not a bunch, but a small group of us sitting in a circle with a monk and a Buddhist monk. And someone brought up the notion of work-life balance or something like that. And the monk smiled and giggled. And he said something to the effect of balance comes in seasons and it is developed through the seasons. He says sometimes there's a season of work and sometimes there are seasons of rest. And he pointed out how Westerners have this tendency to think of balance in terms of every day has to be balanced. But he said that, and I thought about it, and it makes sense because the way that we all used to live was very natural and it used to be in harmony with the seasons, you know, and so people would work, you know, people would build homes, they would work in their gardens and farms really hard for 5 to 6 months a day. I mean 6 months a year, and then they would rest, right? And so, yeah, we really in the West have often screwed up w- so many simple things. We overcomplicate so much. And yeah, that was I I really enjoyed watching the people around me, like, because what he was saying made sense to me. I immediately thought about, and I could see it was making sense to others as well. But it was fun to watch their wheels turn. Because to me, I immediately thought about the seasons and the way we used to live, and it all just made total sense. Because balance doesn't have to be a daily thing or a weekly thing that we obsess about, but we need to know when to respond and change our way of being and way of living. So, for example, like me, by the time I leave, it will be almost 3 months here in Vietnam. And about 3 weeks ago, I knew that it was, or maybe it was even a month, I knew that I would need to leave to create some sort of harmony and balance in my life. You know, it's a different season, so to speak. And one of the reasons I do that is for my own health because it's, you know, my perspective on health is that health starts with us. You know, we do everything we can to take care of ourselves possible, and then only seek out professional help when all else fails. You know what I mean? And it doesn't mean, I don't mean wait, like if you are unwell and you really need help, I'm not saying that, but my approach to things is that, you know, I do what I can absolutely to take care of myself, and I seek out professionals when all the tools in my toolbox are not necessarily working or I suspect it's urgent. Yeah. So that is part of my self-care is relocating for a little while. I don't know how long. It could be 3 weeks, could be a month, could be 2 months, could be 3 months. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. It's part of the adventure. Any Oh yeah, Cheryl, I am. I'm going to go eat and I will enjoy the sun. It's kind of chilly-ish and not chilly by any standards that most of you are experiencing, but it's been windy and in the 60s and 70s here and damp. And so the fact that it's a drier day and the sun's out, it's going to be really pleasant. Huh. Robert says, need a season of rest here, blizzard conditions and heavy lake effect. Yikes, yowza. Good luck to you. Stay warm. Sounds like perfect wood stove weather. Yes, I will enjoy the sun for everyone because I haven't seen it in a long time either. The good news is that you can still get the UV light needed for the mitochondria, even when it's cloudy, at least in tropical climates, that is. Anyone else have a comment or question? I'm happy to answer them or share a story. I'm happy to entertain people's stories. I don't want to depart before that, but I don't know if you can hear it through the microphone, and I hope not, but there's construction just to the west of me, literally across the street, next to the lounge bar, and then directly behind me to the east. It's like, this is Da Nang in a nutshell. You can't go anywhere without finding a construction site almost. This place is booming. Also, I do want to, this goes back to Joey's question about predictions for the future. I don't necessarily consider a prediction, but one of the reasons, so this is a question actually people have asked me about, and it does tie into Joey's question about how I see the things going in the future. And one of the things is that I feel deeply connected to the US, again, it's not the borders, it's the land itself. I feel very, very connected to many places there. And that's one of the reasons I suspect I will settle down back in my home country within the next few years. I love it. There is so much, the natural beauty about the US, the ability to grow food, the natural resources. There are a lot of salt of the earth people with so much wisdom too in the US. And I really like to surround myself with as many of those people as possible because I learned so much wisdom. And I hope everyone else is too, because we owe it to ourselves and to future generations to get that knowledge and to keep passing it on, whether it's in the written or oral tradition. That's part of the reasons I feel drawn back to the US. The other thing I would consider would be living in a small town in Greece, because as many of you know, I have family in Greece, and whenever I go to the villages, I learn so much. For example, I learned this from a Greek farmer. Uh, you know how everyone knocks on the watermelons to see if they're ripe? No, no, no. So the watermelon is connected to a stem, right, from the vine. And if you go to the opposite end of the watermelon and you scratch the bottom of it with your nail, if the skin peels off easily, it's ripe and ready to eat. Yes, do not need to pick it up and pound on it like everyone does. Simple little trick. Go to the bottom of the watermelon, see if the skin scratches off nicely with your fingernail. If it does, it's ready to eat. And those are things that you only learn from people who have inherited that wisdom, regardless of age that they are now, from the older generations, or from that older generation yourself. And so, and I know that a lot of countries have that wisdom, but you know, my family is mostly in Greece and America, although I have some in Australia, but I don't feel connected to Australia personally. Nothing against it, I just don't. So that's why I would consider living in those two places, because I believe that there's, not only do I love the landscapes, but I also feel deeply, deeply connected to the land and the wisdom that exists there. Also in the US, we have so many native peoples that have skill sets that are being revived that we can learn so much from. And I would love to do that as well. Especially learning more about foraging. I do know how to identify a significant number of plants, but not as many, particularly on the East Coast, and some out west, but I would love to learn more. Well, no one's popped up in the comments in the last like 5 to 10 minutes, so I am going to sign off for today. It's getting late on the East Coast, and I hope those of you in between you know, are enjoying your meal. Kate, thank you inviting me to your table with Bob. And Brian, I know you're about to eat or you are eating. So happy Thanksgiving dinner to you and to everyone else. Oh, and Georgia. Oh, she's got a Greek name. Hi, I have a lady Greek in the house. I'd love to spend part of the year in Greece. You know, um, I don't know what your situation is, but there are a lot of woofing opportunities, and that's the working on organic farms. You can volunteer and get free housing and food. Um, I typed it into the thing, but there are a lot of them in Greece. There are a lot, and yeah, you'll have a you'd have an amazing time, and that's a really affordable way to do it. If you have some savings, like pocket money, so to speak, you could go there for months and volunteer on organic farms and just all year round even, and get free accommodation, free food, and just you'd have some pocket money to go and explore with. Yeah, that'd be amazing. Oh, you speak Greek too? Perfect. Yeah, that would make your life even easier. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Have fun. Um, I will say that uh, Greek farmers are probably some of the most interesting to me. I have learned so much just by small interactions, small moments. Oh, testimony, you are most welcome. Absolutely. And you too, Brian. Thank you. Thank you to both of you. Thank you, Global Vagabond. I will enjoy the rest of the day. I hope all of you sleep well. Yeah, Valeria, I'm all about good old farmer knowledge. Yes, we do. And we owe it to this is why I share so much of what I learn, is because it's like I feel like we all owe it to each other to share this knowledge. Like you folks share information with me, I share it with you, and we're all better for it. And we get to share it with others. This is how when systems that we used to rely on and depend on crumble, well, the more information we share, the more we're able to create parallel systems that actually serve us well, and yeah, and and help enrich our communities and ourselves and our neighbors and our families. Yeah, it's great. Oh, Serene, you're so welcome, and I thank you for being here. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad that now I remember it is book depository courtesy of you and another member of this community. Oh, snail trip, welcome. I'm so sorry that you missed the rest, but you can definitely catch the replay. It's been 2 hours of good times, appreciation, and stories. Larry, you are most welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you. And it's nice to see you resurface. Thank you so much, Tom. Yes, the next destination is a really cool place. Really cool place. I dig it, and I promise to share bits and pieces with you all. And until the next time, folks, I wanted to do this live stream not only as a thank you, but to also connect with you, because I may not be able to. Well, I would be able to, but it'd be challenging. I will be moving about quite a bit. I will not be live streaming probably for at least a month. It may be early into the new year, but I hope I can join you um, before then. But it may be a month, so I wanted to get in a couple streams while I could. Oh, you're so welcome, Jojo. Thanks for being here. Awesome. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that, Snail's Trip. Yeah, I'm thrilled that you get something from this, because, you know, uh, other if my stories and experiences don't help others and other people's experiences don't help me, then we might as well all be talking to walls, right? You're welcome, Georgia or Yoria. Yeah. Thank you. Big love to you, Kate, and thanks, Snail's Trip. All right, everyone. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving if you celebrate, and thank you for letting me be a part of it. And my next video comes out on Sunday, and I look forward to catching you all in the comment section. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.